you can see that around 30% of more data breaches happened really over the course of the pandemic time.
So securing accesses is more important than ever. I mean, we need to secure the access. We have learned otherwise. I mean, of course, anybody could abuse an access to a service. Mm-hmm. So what are your best practices? How do you advise your customers on this?
I think it's important that there is not a one-fits-all solution. So it's really much depending what the user's requirements are, what are the consumers, and this is so different, even from bank to bank, from a government body to government body, what the citizens are doing and how they're using a system. And so I think a modern platform that serves consumer authentication should really take into account the way that the different users need to do things. Be it if a financial service organization wants to physically verify if the user has an address during the onboarding, be it digitally, be it that they can instantly recover services when they have a new smartphone, they can instantly get access to the services when they lose their smartphone. So these are all processes that are complex, but you need to take into account all those eventuality and user behaviors to make it meaningful for the consumers.
Yeah, and the user experience. I mean, it's always it's an old topic in security in general. Like to have a very good user experience, so a good adoption of the solution. Otherwise, it's always difficult to promote the solution. Yeah.
There, I think it's important. Historically, there was maybe the idea that a system that is secure will do the job. Yeah. But now I think we definitely moved to an age where users have expectations when it comes to their services. They trust the brands that they consume. They trust the bank they work with. They trust the telcos and the insurances that they're working with. But it has to be seamless. It's just a must.
Yeah, it's today the perception, I feel as well. I mean, you want to use something, but it should be also a good experience. I mean, only high security solutions, especially in our case for qualified signatures, it's not only, especially if you go to a broader mass of users, it's not only important that it's secure in their point of view, but it should also be easy and easiness. The user experience should as well be excellent.
Absolutely, and just by the sheer nature of qualified electronic signatures, this enables so much that you have not had the chance to do before, which is gives you the same legal proofs, but you can do it instantly. You don't have to take a travel to go to a place or something, and this is already, I think, exactly the nature of where we're heading.
So, in our business with, for example, advanced or even qualified electronic signatures, we have defined by the regulator, but also by the standards, that we need two-factor to give a consent to really sign a document with a qualified electronic signature, because we need to prove that it's really you that signs a particular document. But we learned as well, I mean, not every two-factor solution is equal or the same. So what's the difference? Could you explain that, what the differences are?
I'm strongly advocating that there is not just one two-factor authentication solution, but it really depends a bit on the use cases and the security you require to use the appropriate one. And we at Futurae, we have this platform that allows to have a lot of different authentication methods at the same time. And to give you some concrete examples, there's still a very dominant use of SMS in the industry, whereas messages have never been designed to do strong authentication originally. So the infrastructure, of course, we in Switzerland have really, really strong infrastructure, but this doesn't account for other countries. And this is a big issue because we see more and more fraud in this area. because it's just easy to do SIM card swap in other countries where it doesn't require a lot of effort to intercept security codes sent over those networks that have also been poorly secured. Then you have, of course, hardware-based, software-based. I would say software-based is definitely state of the art, what you should do today with the means that are there and the technology available, because it gives you also the security who has accepted the sensitive operation, in this case, the qualified electronic signature. So, which with the SMS, you don't have to prove if it really arrived with the right entity. And so these proofs that are there, and in addition, it makes it very seamless, are all reasons why definitely software-based solutions are recommended. And then in software, there's anything, there are various different technologies that can be used, which goes from push-based authentication to adaptive that uses really context information, which is helpful, for instance, if you have also populations with accessibility topics. So you want to give access to people that don't see, that they are struggling to do things. So for them, it's seamless to just have a device with them and still add security. So it really depends a bit on the type of use cases or what you want to achieve with the strong authentication.
So, when we started with the qualified electronic signature, so we started with mobile ID, which is a SIM-based solution, but the world moved really fast, and we also, of course, had to pick up that trend and move to a software-based, basically an app-based solution. And we scanned the market, and we came to you, and we found it's the best match for us to implement two-factor high security solution, which is also branded Mobile ID app. So we know ourselves, we know your strengths, what makes you strength in the market. So do you like to share this with potential customers?
Of course. I mean, we are really happy to work with you now for over 3 years. And what for us, I think, is important is that we don't stand still. We constantly invest in new authentication methods. We have added FIDO authentication to make sure there's also various ways of doing passwordless authentication for use cases. The platform allows hardware, software-based authentication solutions, because there are always cases where smartphones cannot be used for whatever reason. Then we also do add more futuristic elements. So what we're doing is we want to detect if there are anomalies in the user behavior, how to access, how to do a login. I'm not talking about anomaly detection in payments or something, but really about authentication. And this serves us to be able to do real-time decisioning if there is a risk score that needs to be looked at to add security, to do a step-up authentication, or to allow more seamless access, which again has the effect that the user have least friction with the highest potential protection for every interaction that they're having online. And so it's really a platform that allows to do some very classical, known authentication methods to the very futuristic ones, all out of one.
Okay, very interesting. So what's kind of the standard approach you promote? So what does the customer need to know? Where does he need to start?
I think it's typically very straightforward. We have modern APIs, so it's all REST API based, so integration is not the big issue. What I think is way more important is to have the processes designed to really meet those use cases that the customers want to protect. And this is the homework that takes time to think through what could be potential corner cases. Do you want fallback mechanisms? Is a user typically online accessing those services? Is the user likely to be traveling a lot or not? And this can have different effects on which authentication methods we would recommend, but also how we would do the onboarding to the solution, how we would do the migration. And so the better this is done together with the customer, the smoother also the rollout goes and the onboarding.
So imagine I'm a product manager and I want to evaluate a two-factor solution. So what, from your point of view, what are the most important factors to consider?
I would definitely say type of organization you want to work with. So to have maybe an organization that you can reach out to the owners of the company that are close to you can be a big asset if you have requirements, if you want to build a system that evolves over time. Then I would say security background. So it needs to be not a company that does hundreds of other different things and tries to sell just something, but it needs to be rooted in a security know-how, which is from the design up to how the product is built, to the process around, to certifications around. Then I would say future-proofness. Security is not a field that stands still. You need to have an organization and products you are working with that are reinvesting, that care to take into account new considerations or new fraud models, new usability requirements that operating systems require, and you want to have an organization that reinvests. I would say these are three very important pillars, apart from then, of course, this individual blend. What is the product that you're really looking for? But always try to find a specialist and not someone who has hundreds of thousands different things and also does this, because then this might be not something that is very flexible to use.
You started with a security solution, security service, authentication service, and this service you designed it to be secure. So it was really security by design. So that's, I think, a very strong value and a strong factor to choose your solution. Nevertheless, so what are the next steps? I mean, you have now a really strong basis. And what do you think are the next steps for your service, for your solution, but also for your company?
I think it's extremely important in IT security to always think that you're not there yet. That it's a mindset, and we are constantly reinvesting in additions to our portfolio. We are scouting through our network in academia or in the industry what are potential new fraud models. We have invested, for instance, in a module for social engineering attacks, because if users are executing transactions online, that's some increasing danger that they could be fallen victim to so-called social engineering attacks of fake support employees of organizations. So we have a new model there that detects anomalous behavior of users that could rely on such a attack. And we also investing heavily, as I said before, into real-time decisioning to be a lot faster in reacting to potential impulses that we get throughout the authentication behavior of the user bases. And this is without knowing who users are. So we always do that in a privacy first manner, because we don't have whatsoever insight into who our users are. The identity is not with us, and we are really sitting on top of the identity, but leverage everything there from the know-how what we do have.